The future of Facebook is bright. So bright, in fact, that you gotta wear shades. In this video, I am going to discuss what I believe the future of social media has in store for us, but more to the point, what Facebook specifically has in store for all of us, and I do mean all of us. In the future, there will be more users involved in social media. It is hard to believe today social media can get any more popular than it already is. In fact, the general consensus amongst many is that social media has peaked in popularity years ago and that it can only go down from here. However, I'm here to tell you that that's simply not the case. Facebook will grow in popularity and Facebook will become more powerful than ever imagined. There are three reasons why. Number one is that there will be a significant U.S. population decrease that will occur within the next 20 years. I don't know if it's going to be an EMP or if it's going to be a horrible war involving a military draft, but there are going to be a lot of lost lives in the coming years. When the dust settles after this reduced population hit, nearly everyone will be on Facebook, and a lot of that will have to do with the belief that there is safety in numbers. After suffering catastrophic devastation abroad as well as on the home front at the hands of an unknown enemy, Americans will become more connected to one another than ever before. And what better way to stay in touch with friends and family during times of crisis and uncertainty than through a platform like Facebook? The second more important reason why Facebook will continue to grow in popularity will be with the development of virtual reality. Now, before I go any further, I want to make sure that people understand when I say virtual reality, I'm not referring to the modern and very primitive incarnation of VR that we know today. If you've been following the release of Oculus and Vive, maybe you even own a system yourself, and surely you've seen examples of some of the games that have been released for these systems. I'm not talking about cartoonish video games of these systems that we see today. I'm talking about reality. In other words, a house is going to look like a house. A tree is going to look like a tree. In other words, it is a perfect simulation of a real environment. The third reason Facebook's popularity will grow will simply be the consolidation of social media outlets into one. Obviously, the forerunner in the social media market as we know it to be today is Facebook, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's clear to see from the three reasons cited that Facebook will be the dominant social media outlet where every American citizen will be connected to, and the special magic ingredient which will draw these masses of the great unwashed to the doorstep of Zuckerberg Palace will be, in fact, virtual reality. When virtual reality meets social media, that's it. It's game over. Quite literally, in fact, as most people think it's going to be the video game industry that drives the popularity of VR. Wrong. It will be social media. The addiction to this new medium will be so powerful that it will immobilize the strongest of men, women, and children. If you think the addiction to social media is great now, man, you have not seen anything yet. This is addiction on steroids. Nearly impossible to break free from. Okay. Up until this point, I've been throwing around a lot of generalities about virtual reality without really getting into any of the specifics. And so I'd like to change that if I could here by providing a glimpse into this technology, what to expect from it when it is finally rolled out. The first thing you should understand is that there likely will be two major evolutionary stages that will occur within the VR rollout. The beginning phase is what I'd like to call the physical phase. In other words, it's going to involve the user to be physically active to participate. The user will physically move their hands, which will be holding a controller or a paddle. I don't know what they call them. The controller, yeah. Now this physical phase will run its course until the goggles and other hardware and physical involvement itself becomes minimal to virtually non-existent. At this point, the physical stage will evolve into the mental phase. Now, with the mental phase, there is no hardware involved. No wires, no goggles, no controllers, no consoles, no safe space or required location area that you have to stand inside of. Through the use of a chip implant, you will be able to enter a virtual environment simply by closing your eyes. A good example of this mental phase on display is in the 1993 major motion picture Demolition Man. There's a scene where Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock are about to have a virtual sex, and they just close their eyes, and well, that's all there is to it. And so this is the end game for virtual reality. It starts off awkward and clumsy and eventually arrives to the point where you need a chip implant to avoid cumbersome physical restrictions. Okay, let me get to the specifics here, and I'm going to discuss the physical stage only for today. And, oh yeah, one more thing. There's going to be a significant technological advancement in the way realistic images are rendered inside these goggles. So if you were to strap a smartphone to your forehead and then play a video and watch, I don't know, an outdoors scene, you would be able to tell that what you are viewing, or what you're viewing, is pretty much flat, two-dimensional images on screen, thus making your VR experience a non-realistic one. And that's pretty much what we have right now. But at some point, there's going to be a technological breakthrough whereupon researchers will finally crack the mystery of how to achieve a three-dimensional perception of a perception of depth through video images. I may be dating myself here, but if you're old enough to recall the classic child's toy, the Viewmaster, it's been decades since I looked through one of those things, but as I recall, the images and scenes were realistic, but it was like they were three-dimensional and that you could reach out and touch them. It was almost like they were emerging from the background, or one single image at a time was emerging, popping out from the background. So if you had a tree, you could almost see it distance itself from its background amongst the other trees. It was real weird. And now, but if you can remember those images, now imagine a high-resolution video image inside your VR goggles with those very same three-dimensional characteristics being displayed in real time. And I'm going to explain more about how that's going to work. Okay, depth perception video-based imagery is not the only advanced technology that will help aid in the evolution of virtual reality. There's also going to be something called nano camera technology, or NanoCams for short. Now, the purpose behind NanoCam technology is to allow the user to capture real-time video data from anywhere the NanoCams are located. These NanoCams are basically microscopic three-lens cameras no bigger than a grain of salt and are the payload of a slightly bigger nano drone, which is used to navigate, position, and power them. These NanoCams are barely visible with the naked eye and will be powered with nano-electronics. They fly in teams of about 20 to 30 and are able to hover around and keep up with moving targets. Not only that, they can communicate with a ground control unit and can respond to commands to fly to designated locations at specified times. Now, the best part of these NanoCam, nano-drone array units is that while they're only able to capture a limited viewing area due to their small size, They're also able to communicate and sync up with each other during the recording process. What this allows each NanoCam to do is to record its respective viewing area so that during the editing and processing stage, each camera's small contribution will be used to seamlessly create a much bigger and higher resolution video image. It will be absolutely amazing and will be the backbone for virtual reality as we know it to be in the future. Now, before anyone thinks that this is the stuff of science fiction and that it's not possible to make a camera so small, check out this article here. It's already been done. Researchers at the University of Stuttgart, Germany have created a 3-lens micro camera that can fit onto the end of an optical fiber, the width of 2 human hairs. And I posted the link to the article below. The technology is here, folks. The question is, who is going to take it to that level so that it can be used for virtual reality? Now that you have a little bit of an idea of the technical aspects of VR, let's get into the fun part of this video and run through a series of real-life VR scenarios, okay? Here goes. Let's say you live in New York City and your girlfriend lives in Los Angeles, and for whatever reason you're unable to visit her physically, so you decide to visit her virtually. So first you go to facebook.com, you log in, you make sure your NanoCam array unit is synced up, online, and operating correctly. Now, some VR systems will have the robotic lifeform emulation option. What that is basically a 3D printed form that remotely emulates the movements of the person you are interacting with. In this example, the boyfriend can not only see his girlfriend through the goggles, but can also experience physical contact as well, and vice versa. More advanced models will be equipped with super fast 3D printers that will allow a form of a perfect stranger to be created on the fly very quickly. Most everyone on Facebook will have a 3D robotic life form so that whomever you're communicating with can experience the feeling of physical touch. Let me explain how that might work. Let's say Facebook has a dating app, sort of like what Tinder is today, except Facebook's VR version is basically a singles bar, where single people from anywhere in the world, not just local singles, can go to find serious relationships or one-night hookups. So let's say 2 singles meet at a bar and decide to hook up. They would then swap each other's physical life form file, and their respective 3D printers at home would quickly get to work printing out the life form, and they would assemble it real quickly. All right. The great part about this is that there is no required programming on anyone's part. As long as the individual has an emulation control module that allows a remote robot to emulate said individual's movements, then that's all you need pretty much. Now, keep in mind though that not everyone will be looking for a physical experience on virtual reality, and so for those people, they simply won't buy the emulator or the printer hardware. Even just being able to take in the sights and sounds though is pretty impressive enough, to be honest with you. Alright, here's another interesting example of the way that VR will be used in the future. Through the power of virtual reality, anyone, regardless of age or physical limitations, will be able to walk across any country, even walk across the United States. Imagine logging into your Facebook account from your house in, say New Jersey, and accessing a powerful Google Street View type of application, and being able to walk out of your house, onto your street, and onto the nearest interstate, walking westbound towards California. Not only that, imagine being able to interact with other people who are doing the same thing. Not only that, but imagine being able to wander off the beaten path a little bit and explore all geographical areas. As cool as